Okay, so it is already almost 5 minutes past the starting hour. I think that we can kick off this session. Therefore, I'm welcoming everybody to today's webinar. We will be talking about the project online and offline, a hot topic for nowadays, and we will be presenting the potential solutions and what users can do nowadays to migrate to other project management solutions that are able to kick their processes. Today with us, we have a joint session between Microsoft and proMX experts. From the Microsoft side, we have Jeff Einig, Senior Digital Solution Engineer, and Satish Paul, Global Sales Director for Professional Services. And from proMX, we have Manuel Hanak, our Global Pre-Sales Director, and Joe Woodmansey, the Senior Consultant for Project Operations. Therefore, stay tuned for the insights, and as well, we are presenting a small gift for you at the end of the session. So stay tuned for the updates and for what we can support, how we can support you. Jeff, the stage is yours.
Before we talk about what's changing and why, it helps to take a step back and understand how Microsoft Project Solutions have evolved over time, because the change didn't happen overnight. It's been many years in coming. This evolution explains not only where are we today, but why Project Online is being retired and what Microsoft is building next. Microsoft Project goes way back to 1984. For decades, the core experience was the Microsoft Project desktop client, where project managers created their schedules, always and saving them as MPP files. Then fast forward to the early 2000s, Microsoft introduced something called Project Server, which centralized all those schedules and added portfolio management, timesheets, and team collaboration. All this was built on SharePoint Server. In 2013, that same architecture moved to the cloud as Project Online. It was a SaaS solution, but fundamentally still SharePoint-based, with the desktop client as the primary authoring tool that the project managers worked in. Then in 2019, Microsoft took a major turn with Project for the Web, a brand new platform built on Dataverse and the Power Platform, deeply integrated with Microsoft 365 and Teams. Then in 2024, that evolution came together into the new Microsoft Planner, which unified the products previously known as Planner, Project for the Web, and Microsoft To Do, all in a single experience, all on Dataverse. With that evolution in mind, Microsoft has announced that Project Online will be retired on September 30th of this year. Existing environments will continue to run until retirement, but the direction is clear. And you say, why did this happen? There's three main reasons for why this is happening. The first, Project Online depends on SharePoint Online workflow technology that is being deprecated, so older technology. Second reason, Project Online's legacy architecture limits integration, especially with modern AI-first capabilities. And third, Microsoft's cloud strategy is now AI-first, centered on Microsoft 365, Dataverse, the Power Platform, and Copilot, not custom-based SharePoint solutions anymore. So this isn't just a retirement, it's a final step in a long transition to a modern, extensible, AI-ready planning platform. If you're not already planning your move, now is the time. And that sets us up for what we're going to show you next. Joe, next slide. But let's all take a deep breath. We have a solution for you. Be calm, and Joe is going to take it from here and talk about the direction and options for you going forward. Joe, floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, and hello, everybody. Let me go ahead and take over sharing here and pick up on the next slide here. We'll talk just a little bit and build upon kind of some of the concepts that Jeff was talking about. So hopefully you are all seeing my slide here and kind of moving on, talking about the current solution offerings from Microsoft and what each of those are and what they mean for your business. So let me get going here. As Jeff said, Project Online is coming to end of life. And what we want to do is talk about the future. What does Microsoft offer as a way for your business to migrate off of Project Online and move to something that has a different set of capabilities or offerings, but also continues the type of work that you were doing? So in that vein, the current solutions from Microsoft are on the left-hand side, kind of what we call legacy applications for project and portfolio management. And there's two products listed there. That's Project Desktop, which is still there. It's not going anywhere. It's the desktop client that does offer the ability to work with those MPP files that were mentioned, those Project Online files. So you're able to continue that type of work there. And then specifically for the project server concept, a SKU or product called the Project Server Subscription Edition is still available. And that essentially is kind of taking that multi-user project management tool and essentially putting it into a private cloud. It's got similar feature parity with Project Online. And you can see there that it says it must be hosted in some type of solution. Again, that's a private cloud type of offering. Now, kind of moving on to the right, and what we're primarily going to be focusing on today under the banner of connected project management is the product that we call Project Operations. This is Microsoft's true go-to-market business application. You'll see me talk about this in a few other slides as well. It is AI first. It is a true Dynamics business application, and it's really meant to help manage what we call PSA or Project Service Automation from start to finish. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but just understand here it's the true business application offering. And then kind of on the lighter work management side, a product called Planner, which is more about task management, the workflows around that, and not so much at the project level, but again, kind of how do I manage this workload of tasks and some of the automation around it, but it is not a full project offering. Okay, so those are the current solutions. Let's go ahead and take a look, a little bit deeper dive, like I said, on Project Operations, which is the enterprise-grade, Dataverse-powered, AI-driven business application. Now, I'm going to bring up this slide, a little bit busy slide. It's got some animations going on there, but what we want to look at here is kind of from the bottom up, right? So Project Operations exists in the Azure cloud, and as such can leverage all of the benefits of being a true cloud application. So, all the things having to do with security and infrastructure and privacy and all of the great capabilities that the cloud solution offers, we're building upon that. So kind of as we move up this layer, if you want to think of it that way, we can see that what we're getting to is kind of this Power Platform level where some of those cloud tools like Power BI and Power Automate for workflow automation exist, Power Pages to publish things out to websites. And of course, from the Dynamics standpoint, what we're focusing on here today is specifically Project Operations. That is the Dynamics business application that we're going to be focusing on. And of course, there are other applications there, including our ERP suite or finance, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then, of course, kind of building upon that cloud architecture stack, everything that's on top of that, layering things like AI, Copilot, Teams integration, SharePoint sites, the modern work applications like Excel and Word. So Project Operations fits into that Dynamics family, just like other modules do, CRM, sales, field service, etc. So We're bringing it into a world of cloud capabilities by being a Dynamics application. All right, so going on specifically to projects, how does Microsoft look at project operations and what we're trying to do with it? What we often see is that in project-centric organizations, we have a lot of data silos. We have a lot of challenges, different systems. Folks go out and get point solutions, maybe a Monday.com, Asana, other platforms. And the reality is we have a lot of disparate systems out there. We've got project managers, we've got finance managers, resource managers, all probably working with different tool sets. And of course, the goal is to bring that together for project-centric organizations. We want one source of truth for the project manager, the finance manager, an account manager, etc. And that's really what we're trying to do with project operations in the way that makes sense for a given organization's needs. So I'll show you some examples from a capabilities standpoint as we start to think about what does project operations offer. It's a lot of bullet points up there. It's kind of like an eye chart, but I'll just very quickly kind of those boxes left to right. If somebody needs to, do quoting around projects or deal with contracts or deal with configuring a project, can we do that? The answer to that is yes. Can we do work planning? Can we look at things like estimates and budgets? Can we match skills to a set of requirements? The answer is yes. Kind of moving on, project execution. Do we have time entries, expense, materials? Can we deploy this in a mobile manner? I mentioned budgets before, but we take that quite far in project operations. Can we track actuals to the budget that's tied to our project? And the answer to that is yes. Do we have subcontracting if I use third-party resources? Yes, we do. If my projects are customer facing and I need to generate some type of pro forma invoice or billing, can I do that? The answer is yes. And of course, that brings us into a conversation about a finance system. What are we working with? Sometimes it's D365 Finance. Other times it's other ERP platforms. And project operations is quite good at fitting into that diverse landscape. Again, the bottom layer, all building upon the Microsoft Cloud, things like Copilot, AI, analytics, Power BI, etc. So a very diverse offering with a lot of different capabilities. Now, if we kind of extend this out to my personas who typically will be interacting with different parts of my project management solution, what does this look like? So kind of going down that left-hand side, if I'm an account manager, do I need to look at leads, opportunities, quotes, and contracts? If the answer to that is yes, then there are CRM capabilities built into project operations. In fact, some folks have Dynamics 365 Sales or CRM, and there's a direct link. We can actually quote projects quite well from CRM. But of course, it's not always Dynamics CRM. It might be Salesforce or some other CRM, and that works as well. Kind of going down the list, if I'm a project manager or a resource manager, what do I need to focus on? Things like task management, obviously scheduling, who's booked. Maybe I need to look at my subcontractors. So these would be kind of more your power users, your full users that really need to be in there working with kind of the meat and potatoes of the application, so to speak. And then team members. Team members typically might be interacting in a mobile fashion to do things like their time entry, their expense entries, record what their progress is, record supporting evidence of completion of a task. And then project accountant. We'll put that slide in there. Guess this could take on different hats depending on the nature of the role and what systems we have. But of course, if we are generating invoices or we have financials, then that's going to have some type of an impact somewhere. And project operations does have that ability to generate customer-facing invoices based on the terms of a contract. And that can either go to a system like D365 Finance, or Maybe the ERP is something else, like an SAP or an Oracle, in which case we'll integrate with that and send those invoices over for a similar type of role to carry those all the way through. Now, building upon that, if we look at this shared experiences row down there at the bottom, I talked about sales or CRM, very important part of being a service-centric or project-centric organization. Other types of tools, can we still use Project Desktop if we need to? The answer to that is yes. Typically, yes, we can. What about field service? Can that work with project operations? Sometimes we see that request. D365 Finance. What about human resources, right? And this list kind of goes on and on. We could talk about other systems. What about Salesforce? What about ServiceNow, et cetera? And the reality is project operations is very, very good at fitting into these diverse architectures. And because we're on that Azure cloud and we have connectors and APIs and integration capabilities, it's quite seamless to make these types of connections so that project operations is part of a well thought out integrated architecture. Okay, so just a couple more slides and then we'll jump over and do some live product demonstration. Some value themes there, again, as we kind of go across the top little indicator chart, sales processing, planning, resourcing, kind of where are we in a project life cycle. Then you're seeing kind of what we think of as some value themes tied to those steps in the process. So things like handoff between sales and delivery, contracting, how do I set up my contracts to effectively make sure that I know what my terms are with this customer? And of course, productivity steps along the way. We want a single pane of glass. And then, of course, we want integration to billing, accounting functions, et cetera. So very well thought out project delivery lifecycle that's tailored to you as an organization. And then again, natural value themes that we see kind of falling out that align with those steps of a project. All right, so finally kind of closing this out and giving just a little bit of preview of what's to come. Microsoft is working very diligently to make sure that Copilot and AI are infused into project operations in many, many ways. So there's just a couple different examples there. Things like proposal generation or what if analysis. We see this a lot, especially when someone is scoping a project or an engagement. What if I do this? What if I staff it with junior consultants instead of senior consultants? What does that do to my margins, et cetera? And then you're seeing a couple other things like do my time entry, do my expense entry. Rather than keying all that in, let me just use a Copilot to help me bring that in. And then kind of building on that. What about risks? What about issues? What about suggesting a resource based on not only the skills, but what about the historical performance of that worker in that type of a role on my previous projects? And you'll see more and more of this as we kind of move forward. And of course, these can be built out as well as part of your implementation to add value in your environment. So that's what I had today from a messaging standpoint. Manuel, I'm going to turn the floor over to you and talk about a demonstration. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much for setting the scene. I will today focus in the presentation mainly on the core functionality, what we need at the end from a project planning perspective. I will not dive deeper into the sales or into the invoicing part. That can be done on demand finally. So I already shared my screen. I hope all of you can see my screen. Like Joe explained, when we have a look into Dynamics 365, it's a web-based application. So means we just open up our browser. How that looks for you, how the system is welcoming you in the beginning, you can define there is a persona-based role behind. We will today mainly see or talk about 3 different roles. The first will be at the end the project manager. Second will be we have a quick sneak peek into the resource manager, and finally as well into a typical team member at the end. So while we're navigating from time perspective, I will not explain all of the UI components today. I will just cover some of the highlights. So when we select our projects, first of all, the system is at the end showing me up all of my active projects, currently in total 37. And this kind of views already give me a lot of different possibilities. First of all, I can use natural language here on top to query my data. The system will at the end come up with a predefined filtering in for sure. You can as well modify or tailor those views to fit to your needs. One of the most important things when we talk about Dynamics 365 is the deep integration into the Microsoft ecosystem. And that is something I would like really to spend 1 or 2 minutes in the beginning to demonstrate that. And one of the perfect examples is at the end, for example, when we need to modify data, we do not need to download an Excel spreadsheet for sure. We can if needed, but we can just open it up in Excel Online. We can modify the data with copy or with selection, whatever we need to update our data in the system. I mean, that's not the main intention to use the system like this, only important to know that it is possible. If we click on save, the system will process the changes for me in the background. But only not that as well to run Excel or to export the data for Excel for reporting. That is actually not needed. We can quickly hit a visualize button and the system will decide for me what kind of view or chart type is needed to visualize the data. And that way I can use as well those out of the box, those charts to filter my data on the right-hand side. Same would apply. I mean, one of the big services of the Power Platform is in Power BI to do extensive reporting. So if I want to visualize that view, the data of the view into Power BI, I don't need to, at the end, start designing a schematic model for Power BI and then think about visualizations, one click on the button, and the data will show up. But for sure, definitely you can still use Power BI reports like you see it here at the bottom. I will show it at the end. To analyze your data in more detail. When we enter the project level, so if we would open up a record, we see at the end various components here. And that is huge different when we talk about the business application compared to any other thing. We are completely lifecycle or business process flow driven so that you as a user always see what is the current stage of the project we're in and what would be the next steps I need to take to drive it forward. Those stages are completely configurable to fit to your needs. You could have branches, you could switch to cover different processes while working at the end with the tool. The branching is fully aware of, and at the end, like that, you can cover it to your need. And what is typically done on the right-hand side, as an example, you can have in-page reporting with the help of Power BI or of Canvas pages to analyze and to visualize the data to make it really easy of the use for the project managers. Same applies as well when we talk about silo data. Most silos we see are Teams chats going on around the data, around the project, or emails going between the different team members. All of that can be easily integrated into the timeline. So you just attach the email from your Outlook to the project and it will show up here. And Copilot is available to sum it up for you and to give you the insight on what has happened since the last time you've seen this project. When we talk about the Teams integration, you see here two chats. So you can have two possibilities. You can just open up your Teams on the right-hand side, or you can go to Teams at the end directly and see the project coming up here within a Teams channel quite easily, where you can share your posts, or as well, you can access at the end the project from within Teams without entering the browser. And that way you can easily update the data without having too much touch points from the left to the right-hand side. You can store your data, so documents and other stuff quite easily in your associated document location with Teams. And that way it is a seamless experience between the two applications, and you can collaborate on the project, and you can as well take it forward for there. The essential part, like Joe explained on the slide at the end, when we talk about project management, for sure we need to talk about task planning and and resource management, Microsoft integrated there at the end, or leveraging Project for the Web or Planner Premium nowadays to do the task-to-task planning. For all of those possibilities, what you have available here, and even more like that. So, for example, like you can already see here, we have some pictures showing up for our team members, and some of them are only shown with numbers, and those is what we call a generic resource. For the task of technical design, for example, I'm not sure who will work on the task, but I know it needs to be someone with technical skills. So I plan a generic resource, so the resource management is able to take it on from there to do the staffing. If I want to create generic people, I just click the 3 dots and add a generic resource, which will allow me even to add subcontracting, so external people to the project now. The progress is continuously tracked, again, with the help of the time tracking and the indicated time tracking. You'll see at the end, so you do not need to show all of those columns, but you would see it here on the right-hand side, and you see as well the effort completed, which is done with the help of the time tracking. All of those other parts, what you know from a modern tool, are for sure available. So you can tag it, you can have additional fields here, you can move tasks via drag and drop up and down if you want, you can copy them, you can paste them again, or you can simply import further tasks with the help of templates. So if you want to add more things from a template base, you can just add whole projects as a template or only single parts from a certain project. A second topic, what is quite important beside the task planning, is at the end, as a second part from the task planning, we have certain milestones in here. And what we typically recommend is finally to have a separate tab here. And all of those tabs and the content of the tabs are free to be configured to show only at the end the milestones. So a rough roadmap at the end of the project to see what's going on here, to work on checklists, on deliverables, which may be managed as well outside in another system, to be able to sign them off and to mark them as done. As a result from the resource on the task-based resource assignment to the tasks, the system automatically creates me an overview of the needed people, what I can use in the project to do at the end the task planning. But it's not only that list overview where you see the different dimensions. Be aware of that we have a full-fledged resource management and backend, as a strong backend, be able to mention roles, skills, proficiencies, and all of that kind of things. The system is as well able to differentiate different levels of how the people are assigned. So we have the assigned work, we have reserved people with soft booking, we have hard assigned capacity of people, and we have the column which shows us how much time we have requested from the external tool. And as well, other kind of calculations are always possible, and you can define the matrix and on so forth. So all of that is possible. You can run a full, at the end, life cycle of that. And if you need to look for resources, one of those features Joe explained as well, you click a button, and at the end, the system will help you search for the right real people who could be staffed to get this task done. After this run is, in that environment, we have roughly about 9,000 resources available. So it needs a couple of seconds to walk them through. And based on the results, he will then show up with the best fitting resources. You can compare them. You can see why they were proposed and all of that. And this is done with the help of analysis in the background, which is AI-driven. Do not have time today to really go into deep in every of those details. But one thing what is important to mention, we not focus only on the end on the assigned work. The system is as well able to translate the planning, what we have done to track cost, and to translate it continuously in project estimates. So that needs not to be done manually. So it will always sum up here and show me the total cost, what are currently occurred for a specific resource, or as well for an overall timeline. And for sure, you can change on the scaling. The beautiful thing here is all of those numbers and data points are always fully available for reporting. Same when we talk about budgets. So now the voice is breaking, or risk and issue planning, change management, and all of that stuff. One last AI feature to show here on that level would be a typical thing what we have in projects that we need to generate status reports, sorry, internal or external ones, so we can decide, and the system will help me to create and define the status report, what could be directly sent out to the to my client or to internal stakeholders, or it could be even automatically distributed based on certain trigger points or a certain point in time in a project, for example, after completion of milestone. All of that is fully automated and contains a lot of sensible data and information about the project. Only as to show a few things, when we have a look into dashboarding, when we talk about resource management, we need to know how many people we have on staff available, what is the weekly capacity, how it is distributed, what are at the end the allocation, the demand supply, utilization, all of that at the end is fully end-to-end built in and can be used to analyze the data at any point in time without running or generating a report. One of the most things is when we talk resource management to show where are conflicts at the end, which people are over allocated, underutilized, or where we do have role gaps in our planning. All of this kind of reports can be provided. Finally, we do not talk only about single project. Before I hand over for this new modern style of how to adopt and change things, I want only to show the portfolio view as well, where we have the chance as well to see multiple projects running side by side, to see the dependencies between the project, to have different versions, what we can plan, switch between the versions, able to compare them, or as well to show baselines, how they were planned in the beginning. And with this kind of versioning, you can create any number of baselines of your project, and you will always be ready to compare them with a fingertip. One last thing, Satish, then the stage is yours. When you want to know at the end what will happen if something specific changed in my project. In the past, a lot of extensive calculation in Excel or somewhere else were needed. Nowadays, you can just ask AI or Copilot. So for example, if what would happen to my portfolio when I need to reduce my resources? I mean, beside at the end, just typing in what you want to ask, you can as well use some quick actions below. The system will now recalculate and will give you a glimpse on how that will look like. Will take a couple of seconds, and then it will come up with an analytics for that and give you as well some KPIs. All of those are examples for the KPIs. You can define your own for sure. I would stop here, Satish, and hand over back to you to show at the end really that what we announced in the beginning, the sneak peek on how development could look like in the future. I mean, there's a lot of fancy stuff, what is possible. It's all about data quality and data governance in the back end. And that would be the starting point for you, Satish.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Manuel. So, Katrina, you had a pause for asking questions. Does anybody have any questions? For a poll?
Not yet. No questions in the chat yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you. Manuel, nice segue into my piece. So whatever Manuel had shown us, it's all available in here. You have the projects, you have the resources, all those capabilities are there. In addition to that, if you're looking for features and you want to add them into the same underlying data model that project operations is running on, you would be able to do that now using just plain English prompts, right? If you go into, or any language for that matter, it's just like going to ChatGPT and giving a prompt and then you get a response back. Similarly, you would be able to have that kind of agentic software development experience, even for extending project operations. So I took a crack at what is traditionally provided in Project Online and try to capture some of those features on top of project operations. So what you're seeing here is a high-level portfolio view. It shows the different portfolios which are available. I can double-click into it, and I will show you towards the end how easy it is to make these kinds of enhancements to Dynamics 365 project operations. So here it's showing that in this portfolio, I have 3 programs and 6 projects. It's showing the budget. It's showing the different projects. I can select those projects in here. I can go inside them, and I can see tasks which are in the critical path. I can look at it from a baseline perspective. And of course, I can go into the chat experience, very similar to what Manuel had shown. Here, I can go and ask, okay, I saw quite a few projects, but I want to make a change to this mobile workforce app. That is the project which is there. If I defer that project, what is going to be the impact on the overall portfolio? So it does the analysis, and it says that it frees up 2 senior developers, and then it says that you are able to now focus time on another project, SOX compliance automation project, and it shows what are the benefits of that and also the other projects which would benefit from that small change. So you would be able to quickly make these kinds of capabilities available in your application. And you can also go in, you can look at the strategic alignment of the different projects in a portfolio. You can see what are the business drivers. It all comes down to what your users want from the system. And if they want to see, okay, what is the demand pipeline? What are the different projects that people want to embark on? And you want to take a look at that. For example, I can go in here, say I want to create a new proposal. You can give that to your organization, and people can come in and they can put the new project proposal request in here. And once they have that, the project manager or whoever that role is would be able to go in and they can make changes to it. They can say, okay, it's under review to I actually approve this. And then graphically, they would be able to do that. If that's the kind of user experience that you're looking for. We also introduced this concept of a portfolio optimizer. So you can say that I want to rationalize based on the budget. I want to rationalize based on resource utilization. All of those parameters are provided, and that allows me to make the change and optimize the different projects which are there inside the portfolio. And also, if I want to see the different resources who are available, I can get a different kind of visualization in here, where, for instance, I say that, okay, it's 102%. I want to know why the business analyst is showing us 102% for May. And I find that I have a capacity of 640, but the demand is much higher. So that's a reason. And that is another visualization that we provide. But the sky is the limit. The key point is it's all sitting on top of the same project operations data model. It's just that how you want your users to interact with the system. So the change management becomes a lot easier because whatever the users are familiar with, you would be able to quickly provide that kind of user experience, even inside Dynamics 365 project operations. So one more thing that we have seen that customers ask for is if they have MPP files. I think Joe touched upon this, was the project file. So you can bring that project file into this and you can ask the system to do the comparison. And if there are any mismatches, you can say, okay, the precedence is given to project operations or its precedence is for what is inside MPP, or you can manually go and select and you can resolve it. And if you want to bring that into the system, the MPP file, you'll be able to select the file. Let me see if I have something here. I think I have the landing zone, the Azure landing zone. That is the project that I had selected earlier. I can bring the MPP file into my system, and then I can do the comparison. And if I want to resolve, I would be able to do it. Further, the last piece I'll show is if there are other backend systems that you want to get the financial information from, in this case, it's SAP, you can also push that information or pull that information, push or pull from SAP. That's also cool. So the way you would go about doing this kind of extension is by making use of just plain English prompts. It might look like a very busy screen here, but what I did was I went in and I wrote the prompt. And even for writing the prompt, I just used Copilot. And I said, okay, go into the project management organization, PMBOK, and use that standard and come up with the features that users would typically need. And then I asked it to write the prompt, and then it came up with the prompt. I can go and make changes to the prompt, And here it's listing down saying that in sprint 0, you should implement these features, sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, sprint 5, etc. And then I just ask it to go and execute. So there is this agent mode which is available. And I'll say, just go and execute this and give the connection to my environment. And then that's it. It goes in and it just creates it. And if I don't like something, I can just use plain English again in the GitHub Copilot prompt, and then it'll revise it. So that's the new agentic software development process that's available. So anytime you see something in project operations and you feel that, oh, I only wish if it was better or different, then it's just a prompt away for you to make that change. So that's the piece from my side. Joe, I'll hand it to you, unless there are any questions on what I just showed.
All right. Thank you, Satish. Going once, going twice on the questions. Okay, I will move on then. I just have a couple of slides left to talk about before we begin to wrap up. So let me go ahead and share my screen again here. And you should see kind of the next couple of topics that we're going to be talking about is specifically for Project Online. If you're migrating off of that, what does the migration path look like and how can we help with that process, right? So if you think of a typical, project software implementation timeline, initiate, implement, prepare, and operate, what are some of the things that we're looking at when you're specifically coming off of Project Online? So that left-hand column, assess and plan, we've touched upon a couple of these. Satish just mentioned MPP files again. So what we're trying to do in this first assessment phase, is kind of look at how is an organization using Project Online? What does the complexity look like? How many different lines of business are doing different kinds of projects because they're probably not being done the same way. So we're trying to figure out, is that kind of a low, medium, high usage of Project Online? What are some of the capabilities? Are portfolios being utilized? Project Online is big at user-defined fields and putting some additional information in. What are those fields? What does that map to when we bring something over to project operations? So very traditional, kind of gap analysis, but as Satish was pointing out, with some of the tools that we're looking at, we're trying to see what's being used, what are we migrating to, and kind of moving to that middle block, configuring and mapping. We want to set up project operations. We want to look at those data fields, but specifically, we also want to look at what was the functionality that was being done in Project Online that we need to make sure is happening in project operations, and vice versa. There's another question, which is what more can we do in project operations that we were not doing in Project Online? For example, if there's financials, how was that getting there to financials before? How are we going to be doing that now? Are we using invoicing? What about contracts, etc.? So, and then finally, the migrate and validate, kind of the last step. Very common, conference room pilot types of activities. We want to do pilots. We want to figure out our analytics. You do our user acceptance and testing, etc. Now, along with that, specifically with this methodology in mind, you see under that kind of red bar there where it says contact us for a free assessment. What proMX offers as well is the ability to kind of go in and take a look at your current deployment of Project Online and what does that look like. And that is a free one-day migration workshop that we can help with. And again, the goal is to kind of categorize where are you with the use of that particular product. What is the best path forward? You'll see there it says Planner Premium or Project Operations. And what we're kind of looking for there is, again, is it that light usage? It's really just focused on task management, or do you really have some needs that justify what we're trying to do with project operations and get that value from that particular platform? Out of that comes a recommendation on where to go, why, and kind of what the scoping would look like. And of course, the idea is to take the guesswork out of that and have some pre-analysis that kind of says we think this is the right way to go. All right. So I wanted to make sure we got that messaging in. And with that, Katerina, I think that's all I have. And I think we're on to Q&A.
Thank you so much, Joe, and everyone for presenting and for giving additional insight into the topic. Okay, so it is the part of the Q&A. We have a couple of questions already covered by Joe in the chat. One of those was why should users consider Dynamics 365 project operations instead of other options in the market? Maybe Satish, you would like to add up additionally to that?
Yeah, definitely. So the key reason is if somebody is embarking on a new product these days, one of the key requirements to keep in mind is the agentic features that are available, because there is a real transformation that is happening. Right, the traditional ways of working from left to right, working in a more gradual manner, all of that is getting transformed, where now agents are coming in, and even for just doing one project, you could have a series of agents assist you, and then you, as the agent boss, that is the term we would use, you would be able to orchestrate across these agents. So unless the product that you're selecting would have those kinds of features, it might not be a smart move to go with something which is more traditional. That is what I would say.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Satish. And then we have just got another question, quite a long one in the chat. Manuel, this one goes for you. Hello, a quick question on resources. We are currently looking to transition from POL to project operations. One of the key things we're looking to retain is granular task allocation. From investing the data structure, it looks like the data is stored in the same way as Planner Premium, in a difficult format to work with. We are currently produce day-by-day reports in Power BI, looking at the time allocated per project per day. What would be your recommendation to obtain these through Ops?
It's a beautiful question, so thank you as well, Jamie, for bringing that up. I would rephrase it a little bit. Planner Premium is storing the data in the same way like we do. So Dataverse is part of Dynamics, and this was then set as source for Planner Premium in the second step as well. I mean, you need to have a look into the data source. The table, what you need to look in is called the resource assignments. There is all of the detailed information what you need for this kind of report. And then you can set easily the level of detail what you want to use for the reporting. You can go down even to an hourly level if you like. I'm not sure if it makes sense from a project planning point of view, but that would be possible. So it is in the planned work contour, you have the distribution of the workload, and you can even modify it down to that level what you need. So reporting in Power BI is easily possible to create exactly that kind of reports what you're looking for.
Thank you, Manuel.
Welcome.
From my side and from Jamie as well. Okay, so there are no additional questions in the chat. Therefore, I would like to thank everybody for joining us today and take the chance to connect with us in case you have further questions or any ideas to how to or any questions regarding how to implement these kind of projects. Connect with our experts, with Microsoft experts, and we'll be happy to help you. And last but not least, before leaving, I would like to mention one of our largest annual events, which will happen on 21st and 22nd of April in the Microsoft headquarters in Munich. And we invite you to join us there. We will be talking about project operations and AI and, in general, additional capabilities of Dynamics 365. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, our speakers, and have a great day ahead.